What's up, y'all? It's your girl V with Reality Recap here for another Tea Talk session. And this time we're going over this past Friday's episodes of Belle Collective and this past Saturday's episode of Love and Marriage Huntsville. We're going to smush them both together as I am doing my last rounds of catch up over the Thanksgiving holiday and making sure I get my unsolicited thoughts out there to you. So let's get into it. Starting with Bell Collective, we left off, or well, we started where we left off at the improv show. Uh, was it a show or just like team building improv that Tisha has set up for the ladies to try to get them all talking? And it was off to a good start with the impersonations of each other until we had, so Gucci come in and she found out Selena was coming. We had Latrice come in with a past cast member, Antoinette, who, from what I see, because I'll be honest with Bell Collective, I wasn't watching from the beginning. I kind of caught on um, around the second or third season, but Antoinette was on the show and no longer on the show, but has some issues with Marie and Tisha and them accusing her of, flirting with Glenn and things of that nature. So she came in with a chip on her shoulder and some things she had to get off her chest, honey. So Latrice brought her as it seems like I said this before, but if you keep bringing people to situations that you know are going to cause controversy, like you bring in Antoinette, you bring Selena to the cookout where you know there was a possibility that So Gucci could be there, it leaves the question of, did you bring Selena to your hair or invite Selena to your hair event where the altercation happened that led to them not speaking? Because Latrice was in a beef at the time with So Gucci over the whole building and real estate and her going with another real estate agent to purchase a building, and they were going back and forth. So it leaves the question, guys. I know that Latrice is saying no, that wasn't her intentions, that she's friends with Selena, yada, yada, yada. But we haven't seen her invite Selena to anything else. So it leaves that question of, is that what she does? Just bringing people around to stir up trouble. That incident got physical and she's trying to hide her hands. But anywho, food for thought for y'all. But during the improv, Tisha invites all the ladies to New Orleans for one of her brunch events, and Marie asks, is Antoinette invited? And Antoinette pretty much turned around and said respectfully, Tisha, you full of shit. Okay. And from that, Tisha doesn't want to invite her. She's saying, no, I was going to invite you, but not now. They ask Antoinette to leave. She gets up, and there's a lot of commotion or people in the way, so I really couldn't see. But something happened where either Antoinette put her finger in her face or touched her face or touched her, and you just hear Tisha saying, don't touch me. You hear producers saying, no, we're not going to do the touching. Get her out of here. And Antoinette is swiftly escorted out. So, and while being sorted out, she as sorted out while being escorted out, she still was saying like, Tisha, your whole entire storyline is your husband cheating on you, and just making all these comments that, again, like I said, she definitely came in with a chip on her shoulder and something she wanted to get off her chest. And I hope you good, girl. Because Tisha said, you ain't been around. What are you here for? And you can go back home and finish reading tweets, honey. So I don't know if we're going to see any more of Antoinette. But again, I ask you, was she brought around to stir up controversy? You guys can let me know in the comments after viewing this video. Which, by the way, I didn't say at the beginning. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Um, Tisha starts crying after Antoinette is escorted out, saying how she loves everyone. She wants everyone to get along. And in my mind, saying, we need to keep this show going, y'all. So y'all got to get along. I don't want the show to end. But yeah, It does, at least if it didn't get Latrice and Marie talking because Latrice was already out of there with Antoinette, but it did at least get Tamara and Marie sitting down and Tamara saying, all right, fine, like sit down, let's talk because this girl over here crying, she ain't gonna let it go. Let's start by having an initial conversation. In that conversation, I really feel like Marie was not taking accountability and more so making it about her in the situation where, listen, was it right that Marie sat down with an ex boyfriend of Tamara's who allegedly reached out because he wanted to clear his name and said all these things about, going to court with Tamara, the relationship? Why would you sit down with that person if you're Tamara's friend? If somebody's reaching out to you saying that they got tea on your friend, why wouldn't you go to your friend and say, "Hey, this dude is being weird, he's reaching out." Why you went down there, in my opinion, to sit with that man, to get the tea, to be messy, to discover something about Tamara because Tamara seemingly has a squeaky clean reputation and you were trying to tarnish that. That's my true feeling. But Maria is saying, well, this guy reached out. I heard what he said and I was shocked because this is something you should have told me. Why? If it's something in her past, if this guy was harassing to her, why would she bring that up? Why wouldn't she just leave that in the past? She restraining order, whatever allegedly she has. Why would she bring that up on national TV? Or why would you? You could have put her life in danger, not even knowing. So why would you go and meet with this dude? Makes absolutely no sense to me. I don't get that whatsoever. So I definitely think Marie was wrong. She should have owned that. We didn't see how that conversation ended because they were walking out. We do learn later on, but they were walking out and both of them saying, "Well, I need you to hear me." And Tamara saying, "I hear you, but you need to hear me." And I don't. It wasn't clicking with Marie that's not girl code. That's not friend code. You shouldn't have went and sat down with somebody's ex. Why? Because you was trying to be messy. And that's my opinion. And I certainly, it would take me a while, if ever, to trust her again. But it's a TV show. It's real life, but it's real life on TV. In order for the show to be successful, you have to move forward and move past it. But I would definitely maybe forgive, but not forget. And wouldn't be shocked if she tried something like that again. Um, the Belle's men get together for a guy's day. And there's funny tension there. I feel like on some of these franchises, the men are really kicking up with their drama. We see it with Married to Medicine. We see it here with Belle Collective. It was honestly more entertaining because I felt like the episode was a little dry, a little bit. There were some, conversations and meaningful things happening. But overall, this was the most entertaining to me. The guys met up and they catch up with Glenn, and he tells them that he quit his job and that he's moving into entrepreneurship. And everybody is assuming that he's going to start a rap career, which when he said that he was quitting his job, I was thinking the same thing, but also thinking, oh my God, please don't leave this good job for your rap career. Because if it's anything like we heard in that rap to Tisha, it might not go too far. And everybody was assuming that that's what he was doing, a rap career. And he said, nah. But he's still not being clear with us on what he left this job for, because it doesn't seem like whatever he left it for is concrete or already making money that he would leave such a good job for. But he mentions that, speaking of his rap, like Willie, he felt like he made a mockery of it. He feels like Willie thinks he's above the other men. And I could see that. Akeisha and Willie do come off sometimes like above the rest, like Glenn said in the other episode before they got to the fish fry, he was saying they feel like they above him and they act like they eat great poupon. So I see that sometimes. I'm not a huge fan of them on the show. I've said this about Akeisha. I just, other than her pushing products in our face, I don't connect with or care for her storyline. Willie's barely there. She's there for Ferris Street and making the girls eat brunch in a dusty building or backyard to promote her building. She's talking about her menopause journey, but seemingly to just promote some menopause pajamas that's supposed to be cooling at night when you're having hot flashes. So again, I don't know where they fit on the show, and they do sometimes feel like they have their nose up. Even when they were doing the impersonations and they were impersonating her, it was always like they said, I don't have time for this. I'm going to be with my kids. Like she's the only one on the show with kids. And even when she left, I guess she was offended by that at the improv where she said, I'm going to check on my kids. Deuces, sis. But I do agree with Glenn that they sometimes feel like they are above the situation. But it could also be that, Akeisha mentioned that Latrice told her that Glenn and Tisha was trying to get a girl to slip in Willie's DMs to set him up or get him to, I guess, engage in conversation or say or do things that he shouldn't do as a married man. Now, Letitia, Tisha said that is absolutely not true. I don't know if I see Tisha being involved in something like that. Glenn being that he side eye and don't like them, maybe so, but maybe that's where some of their snootiness or nose turned up is coming from at them. But while they're talking about how Glenn feels that they think they're above them, my guy Cliff jumps in and he's saying that, Willie acts like a woman. He always throwing that as an offensive situation or offensive thing to say, telling the man he's acting like a woman because he think he's so macho and manly with not one muscle in that pink shirt. But Willie is saying that ain't no bitch in him, and the only one there wearing pink is you. Mamas, you got to go get the kids from school. I don't know, but it was just funny, shady, and I enjoyed that scene. Um, Glenn also tells the guys that they're going to NOLA too with the women, and JJ suggests that they all do a podcast episode together. But Cliff wasn't with it. He said the vibes is off. He don't like Willie. Glenn don't like Willie, and they ain't really checking to do a podcast. So we'll see if it happens. I think it would be hilarious, just as the scene was. But we'll see if they buy into doing an episode on Willie and JJ's already established podcast. They would probably just come on as a guest. We see Marie stop by Tisha's to tell her about the incident that happened at her home, and this was really a serious topic. But I I hope that it wasn't what it seemingly was. But hearing Tamara talked about it as well a little later in the episode. Marie had an incident where she was not home, and two men that was caught on security camera, pretty much with, pew pew pews, machine ones at that. It looked like they started from one end of her home and pretty much all the way down her entire house. And thankfully, she was not home, nor was her daughter or mother were there. None of them were home at the time. Um, I was hoping that making sure I ain't knock my cord out my mic, hitting it over here, trying to put some lip gloss on. But I was hoping that this was like a mistaken identity. They had their wrong home. Tamara did mention that Marie lives in a good neighborhood. She lives in a gated community. So that makes me a little bit more worried because I do feel like with Carlos King's shows, specifically with Love and Marriage, Huntsville, or even here, the fan base can be really intense, more intense than we see on some other shows where they really are out to hurt. I think I think that Stormy said it best, right? Where she said that they're out to like hurt, kill, and destroy. Businesses, families, reputation. So I'm just hoping that this is not a case of like weirdos in the fan base really trying to harm Marie. I personally don't care for Marie much myself, and how, like I just said, she was messy in Tamara's situation, bringing up Latrice's bringing up Latrice's prenup and things like that. I don't know, but I just feel like, I don't care for her the most, but I'm definitely not about to go do something that tragic to someone on a TV show. It's too much. So hopefully it's investigated. They find out, catch the people that did it. Again, happy that she was not home. Because although you don't like someone on a show, you definitely don't want to see them harmed, hurt, or their family in any way. So I'm just hoping that's not the case. And, the people are caught that did it. And just again, glad that she wasn't home. We do see another compelling story there where Gucci checks in with her daughter. And, her daughter seemingly had some mental health struggles where she was looking to unalive herself, which was sad. I'm only reading between the lines, but she had a child, and I believe not her son, her daughter's father was the guy that owned the barbershop that they had guys stay in, which seemed like a real player type vibe where there was a pool table and a bar, and he's a barber and cutting hair. So call me stereotypical, but he gave off a bit of player vibes. So it seems like, she had this child with him. It may have not worked out. They're not in the best space. She's not where she wants to be career wise or trying to figure out her life. And it led to some, sounds like depression, anxiety that she was struggling with. And she, at one point, from what So Gucci told us later in the episode, she dropped her daughter off. They found her on a bridge, and she was, trying to unalive herself, which was sad to hear. And again, sending love and light, prayers and support. A lot of conversations this past week with Mary on Salt Lake City here with Gucci and her daughter. Um, Even Aaron on Roni about her, her situation with abortion before. A lot of, you can say heavy conversations, but needed conversations, real and raw conversations. So, again, sending love and light to her daughter. But, Gucci is there to support her. That was good to see. They even talked about throwing an upcoming birthday party for so Gucci's granddaughter. And it sounds like her daughter's in a stable place now, so it was good to hear that. um the guys did end up doing a podcast episode. It wasn't with everybody, it was with JJ and with Willie, and they had Gucci and Akeisha on. And I just wanted to mention it because it was inspiring, right? They have their own space, or they had a studio space with uh, like a producer, or someone helping with the sound and things like that. And it was just cool to see, because I really love what I do here. I really love this podcast, and I always try to say an affirmation before I get on here that I will have my own studio space. I will get out of this basement where I'm just, the kids, you can hear the kids sometimes, you hear the TVs going sometimes in the podcast. Like, I just cannot wait to get into my own space. So it was just inspiring to see the space look dope. The engineer, he was professional and had all these soundboards and things going in the background. So I just, I wanted to mention it because it was inspiring. Gucci did host her grandbaby's party and the ladies sit down, and it was a good conversation. They were encouraging Gucci to fix things with Selena. Marie talking about what had happened to her at her home and the situation with them. Pew pew pew, and I ain't trying to get kicked out of here up her home. And then Gucci shared what had happened, what was going on with her daughter. Her daughter walked in, they were supportive to her, and they were really encouraging. Again, life is short, for Gucci to have a conversation with Selena and fix their relationship. And It was good in the moment. Yesterday was Monday, and Carlos King had his, Messy Mondays podcast, and he had So Gucci on there, and it was a bit tense and awkward to say the least. Like, Gucci talked about how she felt pressured by the producers to have a conversation with Selena that she didn't want to have, and that she didn't even know Selena was joining the show. Immediately you can see Carlos' face get annoyed with what she said and saying like, no, you didn't know. And I guess he didn't like how she said she didn't feel protected by the producers. She didn't, and again, felt like they were trying to force the conversation, which what we see on the screen, she really wanted to have a conversation. She was trying to reconcile the family. So to hear that she felt forced to do that was a little weird. But that is what she said on the podcast episode last night when I listened in. Um, and we'll see what happens with their conversation. It does seem like, just looking at it, they had the conversation, but we'll have to see where that goes. We then see Cliff drop by Tisha's office unannounced, and he was spilling some major tea, whether he knew it or not. Apparently, he had a conversation with Glenn. Um, Glenn is already confided in him that he's leaving his job, that Tisha's upset about it. And Glenn, Cliff offers to go talk to Tisha. And in my opinion, he made it worse because he went in there. And at the time, Tisha still wasn't sure that he actually quit, or was he looking to. Cliff already knew the answer to that he did. She didn't know what his business plan was, what his business venture would be. It sounded like, y'all know Cliff mumbled something, but it sounds like he's getting into some type of moving, hauling business, and had already purchased a truck, which Tisha didn't know that. So Cliff is sitting there feeling set up, and Tisha's feeling like, wow, you know more than I know about my own home or husband. So are we really surprised with the bromance that Cliff and Glenn had, that he's more in the know than Tisha and she's the last to know? I'm not, but she was taken aback by it, upset by it. And then, she saying all of this before she leaves for North Carolina, no, not North Carolina, for New Orleans. So she was a bit upset, and now Cliff is black. He's like backtracking and saying like, maybe I dreamed all of this. No, too late, bro. So we'll see what happens. But that was the end of the episode. Again, great conversations, some compelling conversations. Overall, the episode was, but we'll see when they get to New Orleans what happens there, and with Selena going to be there with Soguchi and JJ all at the same brunch, and Tisha put them at the same table from what we can see in the preview. But we'll see. Hopefully it kicks back up, but I am enjoying the season overall. Now let's get into Love and Marriage Huntsville. We start off with Destiny moving into her storage unit. I don't know what she's calling it, but it definitely was giving storage unit. And not to knock anybody in their entrepreneurship, I guess she had the brick and mortar store. It didn't go well because of COVID, and she's moving into this space and moving e-commerce. I was just curious, no shade, how she's making candles and stuff in this space. I don't know what goes into making candles and stuff, but that was a really small space. I didn't see like running water. I don't even know if you need more water to make candles, but I was just trying to figure out, is it I thought it was an inventory space where she kept inventory and mailed things out, which it seems like she is doing that, but she says she's making the products there. So apparently she's making these products herself, which I didn't know, and I was just trying to understand how in that space. But, all the best to her and Madani. Entrepreneurship is not easy, and she's still moving along and has her new product, the, Big D Energy, which she says is not what we think it is. It could be Big Destiny, Big Detroit, whatever you want to call it, and it's unisex. So she's, heavily trying to promote that. Martell is there helping her move her stuff into the space, and they talk about her being arrested. Martell being arrested, well, his arrest and him being convicted. He says that he wasn't convicted, which was a bit confusing to me because I also recently saw that not only was he convicted, but he was put on probation, and that there was a court order out there or sent to me in my inbox. I'm gonna say alleged because I wasn't able to locate it or anything on the website because I'm just not good at searching on some of these county websites. But I had a document sent to me what looks like they were asking to revoke his probation because he continues with the harassing communications to Mel. So he's saying that he wasn't convicted, that the judge didn't hear the case, that is going to the higher courts, and he's confident that it would be thrown out and that is fake news. All I can say is it hasn't been thrown out yet. So I don't know, but that was really confusing to me because if you're convicted, who else is going to hear it unless he's appealing it or something? I don't know, but it wasn't making sense and it doesn't seem like it's fake news or he wouldn't have been convicted. But he says he wasn't. I don't know. Martell also talked about, not feeling supported by the guys, and he was upset with the interview that Marceau did, where they cut to the interview and they talked about, Marceau not standing for whatever Martell had done with Mel and this revenge P. You guys know about that, and that he should deal with the consequences because you can't do things like that. So he was upset with that interview. And apparently it's going to get addressed later in the episode, and we'll talk about that. And we also see Mel meet up with Kimmy for what she said was a workout, but it was more to get the tea. And I have to be honest, sometimes with Melanie, I know everybody loves her. I think she's great, and it's great to see her come out of what she's been through. With the way Martell treated her, the things that were done, and to see her persevere, come through, have a thriving business, her Seventh Avenue business, her t-shirt, sweatshirt lines, all of those things, legging lines. She's won an award this past week for, I think, like, top reality TV star or something like that. But she's thriving, and that's good to see. Some of these scenes, though, even though she's like, oh yeah, like that, it comes across like, I gotta film with these stupid people or something like that is how it comes across. So I knew all along in that conversation or the workout that she invited Kimmy to that eventually she was going to bring up Maurice's DUI. And the way she did it, she literally, like, in my opinion, sideswiped Kimmy, where she talked to her about, oh, you looking great, you eat, because they talking about eating more healthy, and she said, yeah, Kimmy, you look great. Your hair looks great. I seen you online, but I just wanted to check in because I saw what happened with Maurice. And I was thinking, did that cause any emotional stress or anything like that? And um it was a smooth side swipe. It was like, we're over here working out, we're eating some spaghetti squash, and then all of a sudden, phew, we're over to the DUI. But Kimmy didn't really answer anything. I didn't expect her to. It's an open case. So apparently Maurice is trying to get off, or in some way claiming his innocence, or that it's not true. So they're not speaking on it. He hasn't pled guilty at this point or at all. It's still an ongoing case. So I don't expect them to talk about it much. And who's going to get on the camera and incriminate themselves? But, Kimmy didn't answer it. But, and Mel was even asking, like, so let me ask you, was it in the middle of the day? Got a little shady there. And again, I get what Mel's saying, like, oh, everybody wants to talk about her situation or others, but never want to talk about their own. This isn't really Kimmy's conversation to have. It's not her DUI. It's her husband, and she's being supportive. So, and it's an ongoing case. So we're not going to get much information until it comes out in the court documents, which I'll have for you when it does. But she wouldn't answer that. She says, well, it's public knowledge. And Mel pretty much assumes that, well, okay, well, that means, yeah, it was in the middle of the day. And that just wasn't the case, or we don't know. But Kimmy saying, don't put words in her mouth. That's not what she said. All I'm saying is public knowledge is public knowledge, and what's out there is out there, and the rest resolve itself. But Kimmy saying that, overall it's just one of those things and she's good. That I don't believe. I don't believe that she's just good. I don't believe that she's not embarrassed, or that she's not dealing with public scrutiny because of this. When she was also previously or recently on Carlos King's podcast, I think the week before last, but she was on there and she talked about how she doesn't like that Maurice stays out late. He loves to party and hang out. Seemingly what Mel had said about him in previous episodes, that he's a party guy, and and even that night, I believe they were partying together. She wanted to go home and he like sent her off and still wanted to hang out. So, do I think it bothered her? Do I think it is bothering her as your husband who's facing some type of legal trouble? How could it not? So she could have been a little bit more transparent about how she's feeling about it, but she didn't even want to give that, probably because she felt sideswiped as she was in the conversation. So I don't know, but from what I can see in the upcoming episodes, this is definitely going to cause a rift in Kimmy and Mel's relationship. So stay tuned for that. We also see Tisha and Marcel have a talk, and they're butting heads as usual. She wants to do things for the business, like, they're building a home in a community that this house probably, I don't want to say stick out, but like a sore thumb, but it probably is, because it's more modern and it's bigger and different than all the houses in the neighborhood. And she wanted to like send out letters to the residents, letting them know what they were doing and kind of so they felt in the know. And he's like, if you do that, they probably gonna start complaining and have things to say. And don't come to me when you find out that what I said was right. But in this conversation, it really felt like, just in hindsight, throughout the rest of the episode, he really should take heed to what his wife is saying to him, because she asks, like, did you reach out to Maurice? And he's like offended by that. Like, that's been my brother for 40 plus years. You think I don't know how to be a brother? And what am I going to say to him, that if he's a smart, intelligent lawyer, valedictorian, that doesn't see the error of his ways, kind of seemingly saying that DUI was true, by the way, is how I took it, just my thoughts. But he's like, I know my brother and I know how to handle this. But we do see later on in the episode where Kimmy is talking to Destiny and saying nobody reached out. Everybody has so much to say, but nobody called or reached out except for Destiny or Martell. So maybe you should listen to Tisha when she's trying to help you have, good relationships, or check in with your brothers. She also suggests he should reach out to Martell to avoid conflict. And knowing what we saw in the rest of the episode where it did cause conflict, he might have wanted to listen to what she had to say. You know what I mean? So I don't know. You know, as a wife, sometimes you just want the best and you just try to offer help because you can see things that maybe your husband can't see. And sometimes they don't take heed to that. And that seemed like here where he just didn't listen. And either what her suggestions was, he was saying that she had an attitude and I got this, and she's really just trying to help. So I didn't like how he was talking to her at the end of that conversation. And, always with the smart, condescending tone, trying to be embarrassing to her. That's not cool. But she always following and sticking behind him. And she said in her interview, I'm going to follow whatever my husband does. So I guess she used to it by now. Um, we then see Destiny and Kimmy meet up, and she tells Destiny that Mel's upset with her over an interview she did after they came back from the trip. Destiny seems unfazed about it because she's saying she didn't do any interviews. She doesn't know what she's talking about. Well, she did interviews, but she doesn't know specifically what she said that upset Mel. And that only thing she knows is what she said was the truth. And ain't no need to be shady. She's just telling her truth. So we'll see if they have a conversation later on. as well. Destiny also asked about Maurice DUI, and she quickly answered, "He's okay." And she did again mention, like I said, that only Marceau had that only like Destiny reached out and stuff, and people had so much to say, i.e. Mel and Marceau. And I was, like I said, saying she should have listened to Tisha, reached out to Maurice, but he said he did, or that he had it under control, but might have wanted to listen. Kimmy also knows that, she also talks about how she knows that Mel's workout session was just really to get the tea. She talked about that in her confessional, and in all honesty, we all knew that, or at least I did. It was not genuine, in my opinion. Um, it's the day of Destiny's Big D field day because she's gonna shove this Madani down our throat. Now, like I said, get your coins, do what you got to do, hustle, but naming your product Big D Energy, I get like it's a play on words, but business wise, I didn't think that was the best idea. Um, Side note, at the field day, Nell's son is there, Lance. And it's been insinuated one or two times so far in the season that Lance and Destiny are dating. But I have to tell you guys, word on the street is that Lance is still married. Don't know if he's separated or what, but the word on the curb allegedly is Lance is still married. So Destiny might want to figure that out. At the event, Destiny, after they do their little fun games, they're sitting down and Destiny pulls out this bowl of like questions. And then the crazy thing is you pull out these bowl of questions like you're going to manage or help guide conversations, tough conversations. And then you get upset when Marcel and Martel start arguing and you talk about ain't nobody gonna jump in it. You brought this game along, sis. So you handle it. Nobody else gonna say anything because they want the tea too. They want Martell to bring out the receipts. So let's get into it. But she pulls out these questions and she asks Martell, I don't forget the exact words, but something about like what someone in the group has done to upset him, which was a targeted question because she wanted to get into the whole podcast that Marcel or the interview that Marcel had did. And Martell says that he didn't appreciate that Marceau discussed revenge P on the interview, that that's not what he was arrested for. That's not what he, had to go to court for. It was for the harassing communications. But I think, from what we've learned from Mel, that that was part of it, right? That part of his harassing communications was that he sent a video that was them two intimate and like threatening to put that out on the internet and make like it was her with another man. So that is part of it. And Marceau did say like he assumed that it was true, probably because she was convicted and probably because there was proof that this is what you sent her and she had that proof. I don't know, but he's saying like, yo, I just spoke my truth in the interview. You can say all you want. You can do tell-alls with Tasha K, which we all saw that, and say anything about my relationship and how I'm cheating and how I got 20 mistresses. But when I say something, it's a problem. He had a point there. I don't really care for Marcel, but he really did have a point there. Martell says he knows several of the women that he's cheated with, that he bet $50, not $50. Probably because that's all he got. But and listen, still more than me. But he said that I bet 50K that I can prove that you have cheated. And Marceau, he got a little shady and funny there where he said, like, let me see the 50K that you said you're gonna bet. And he said, well, let me see your 50K. I'm not the one that said I was gonna bet, bro. So let's see the 50K. And he goes to the car to, I guess, get his phone because he's saying he got receipts, but he doesn't show them. And again, like I said, Destiny's sitting there and she's like, ain't nobody gonna say nothing. No, they ain't gonna say that because they waiting to see what Martell come back from the car with. Because we've all, I hate speaking for y'all. Let me speak for myself. But there's been rumblings in the jungle for years that Marceau is cheating and no one has come forward. But where there's smoke, there's fire, in my opinion. So I was sitting back like, we have been talking about Martell and everything that he did, and we don't get into nobody else. So let's see these receipts. But he did not show them. And at this point, Tisha's getting upset because he's bringing her into it. Like, yeah, I got these receipts now. When I show him, let's see how Tisha stand on business of what she said and what she's not going to tolerate in her marriage. And she like, well, show it. What do you have? Show it. Because at this point, I think she's tired too of everybody is speculating, but not having no proofs, receipts, timeline, screenshots, everything. Hey, Heather, Salt Lake City. But yeah, she's like, "Bring it out. I'm leaving because you ain't got it. You ain't bringing out nothing." And he doesn't show it. So conversation is to be continued. We'll see more of it in the next episode. But uh, you know, Marcel, what you got? Let us know. I ain't gonna lie, I'm interested. Do I believe Martell? I do. A part of me does, even though he lied to us allegedly about his conviction and that it ain't true and it's fake news and all that stuff. But when it comes to exposing other people because he wants to drag them down like he got dragged, I believe it. So I'm waiting to see more there. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Bell Collective and Love and Marriage Huntsville. Both good episodes. We're still trucking along. I'm enjoying both seasons. So I will continue to recap it. You guys make sure you catch up on the episodes if you're not. And I will have sneak peeks of this week's episode coming Bell Collective on Friday and Love and Marriage Huntsville on Saturday. Now, before I get out of here, as always, if you have a business or product that you would love for me to promote on my social media platforms, my price list is on my pages. Or if you would like to be a sponsor of the podcast, where I will promote your business or product on all my podcast episodes, interested in either, you can DM or message me, or you can email me what you see on the screen, reality_recap@yahoo.com. Also, if you would like to give monetary donations to help me continue to grow my podcast equipment and get me out this basement, the Cash App is $reality recap. Without the underscore, it's just $reality recap. I appreciate everyone's support so far. And how do you support for free? As always, you can follow me for all the breaking reality TV news, gossip, highlights of episodes on my platforms on Facebook and on Instagram at reality_recap. And don't forget on YouTube, like my videos, please share them, subscribe. I appreciate again all your support and welcome new followers as we continue to grow on the social media platforms. Now, like I say before I end all my shows, reality TV stars are humans too. Let's not forget that. It's your girl V with Reality Recap, and I will see you guys later for a live recap of last night's episode of Love and Hip Hop Miami. So stay tuned for that. Set your alerts. Have a great day. Peace.